The sun was setting behind the seaside town, painting the sky in soft orange and pink colors. Inside a small cafe called Blue Shore, a young waitress named Lena was finishing her evening shift. She was known for her quiet nature, soft voice, and kind smile. People liked her because she listened more than she spoke. But today, she felt uneasy, as if something strange was about to happen. The cafe was almost empty when the door suddenly opened. A tall man walked in, wearing simple clothes, but he carried an unusual kind of confidence. His eyes were sharp, and his steps were slow, almost too controlled. Lena looked at him carefully. She had seen rich tourists before, but this man looked different, like someone hiding a heavy story. He chose the corner seat, the one facing the window, and sat silently. Lena walked toward him with her notepad. "Good evening, sir," she said politely. "What would you like?" The man didn't answer for a moment. He simply stared at the lost items box kept near the counter. Inside it was a small silver ring someone had forgotten earlier that morning. His eyes stayed fixed on the ring as if it carried a painful memory. Finally, he spoke. "Just coffee." "Black." His voice was deep, calm, but filled with something broken. Lena nodded and went to prepare his order. While pouring the coffee, she kept glancing at him. Something felt off. He looked like someone who had everything, yet nothing at the same time. When she brought the cup to his table, he suddenly asked, "Do you believe a ring can destroy a man's life?" The question shocked her. It came out of nowhere. I don't know," she replied gently. "Maybe it depends on the story." The man let out a soft, bitter laugh. "Story," he repeated. "Yes. A story can change everything." Lena felt a cold shiver run through her. She wasn't sure if she should ask more or stay quiet. The man slowly reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. A ring. But not just any ring. It was the most elegant yet haunting piece of jewelry she had ever seen. The stone in the center had a strange glow, almost like it held a secret. "This ring," he said quietly, "once belonged to the woman I loved." Lena didn't know what to say. She tried to keep her expression calm, but she felt the tension rising inside the small cafe. The air felt thicker, heavier. The man continued, "She gave it to me, and then disappeared 1 week before our wedding." Lena's heart softened. She didn't know this man, yet she felt his pain. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "That must have been hard for you." He nodded but didn't look at her. Instead, he stared at the ring with the same cold fire in his eyes. "But that is not the worst part," he said. "She left a message hidden inside the ring. A message that changed everything I ever believed." Lena didn't understand what he meant by hidden. He seemed like someone carrying a storm inside him, a storm ready to break free. Before she could ask more, the cafe door opened again. A couple entered, laughing softly, and the moment broke. The man slipped the ring back into his pocket and looked away. Lena walked to the counter, pretending to clean the cups, but her eyes kept drifting toward him. She had served many customers in her life, but no one had ever walked in with such a heavy silence. Who was he? Why did he talk about rings and destroyed lives? When the couple left, the cafe became quiet again. The man stood up and walked to the counter to pay. Lena noticed his credit card. It was black, heavy, and had no name printed on it. Only people with extreme wealth owned such cards. She was shocked. He pushed the card toward her, but before she could pick it up, he said softly, "Be careful with people who smile too easily. Sometimes, they hide the darkest warnings." Lena froze. What was he talking about? He looked straight into her eyes, and for the first time, she noticed something else: fear. Not anger, not pride, but fear. He took a step back. If only someone had warned me earlier. I wouldn't be living this nightmare. The words stayed in Lena's ears long after he walked out of the cafe. His cold presence, the sad ring story, the black card, everything felt like the beginning of something she wasn't ready for. She closed the cafe a few minutes later, but her mind kept replaying the conversation. Who was he? Why did he choose to talk to her? And why did she feel that this wasn't the end? It felt like the start of a silent war, one she didn't yet understand. As she stepped outside, she looked down the street. The mysterious man was gone, but the feeling of danger stayed. Little did she know, this man would return. And when he did, her life would never be the same again. The next evening, the cafe felt strangely quiet. Even the sound of the ocean waves outside seemed softer, as if the whole town was waiting for something. Lena tried her best to focus on her work, but she couldn't forget the mysterious man from last night. His deep voice. His sad eyes. His strange question about the ring. She kept wondering about him. Why did he come here? Why did he talk to me? Why did he look so hurt? Just then, the cafe door opened again. A cold wave of air entered the room, and so did the same man. Lena's heart skipped a beat. He walked inside slowly, carrying the same heavy silence around him. Today, he looked even more tired. His eyes were darker, his shoulders tense, and his step slower. He didn't ask for the menu. He simply took the same seat near the window. Lena approached him carefully. "Good evening," she said softly. He didn't look up, but he replied. "Coffee? Black? Again?" Lena nodded and went to make it. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she didn't know why. Something about this man felt like standing inside a storm without getting wet. When she brought the coffee, he finally lifted his eyes. "You look nervous," he said quietly. Lena forced a smile. "Maybe because you looked upset yesterday." He stared at her for a few seconds, a long, unreadable look. Then he finally spoke. "I was upset. And I still am." He touched the ring in his pocket. "Because some stories never end. They keep hurting." Lena didn't know if she should sit or walk away. But then he gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Sit. I need to talk to someone who doesn't know my past." Lena hesitated, then slowly sat down. The man placed the ring on the table. It looked even colder today, almost like it carried a warning. He took a deep breath. "My name is Adrian Hale," he said. He paused. "A businessman." Lena already suspected he was rich, but the way he said businessman felt too simple. Too small for someone like him. Adrian continued. "I was engaged once. To a woman named Marina." Lena's fingers froze around the coffee tray. She didn't react aloud, but her heart felt a strange jolt. Marina. That name. Adrian didn't notice her reaction. "She was kind. Smart. And she made me believe that life could be soft." He gave a sad half smile. "But good things never stay." Lena swallowed and listened carefully. "1 week before our wedding," he said, "she vanished. No note. No explanation. Nothing." He tightened his jaw as if remembering the pain. "But she left this ring," he continued. "A ring with a secret message inside." Lena looked at the ring. "A message?" "Yes. Hidden inside the metal. You need a special light to read it." Lena leaned in slightly. Her heart beat faster. "What did it say?" Adrian closed his eyes for a moment, as if repeating the words brought back old wounds. "It said, 'Forgive me. I have no other choice.'" Lena felt cold. "That's all," she whispered. He shook his head. "There was something else. A line that destroyed me." He finally opened his eyes. "It said, 'Your enemy is closer than you think.'" Lena froze. The cafe felt suddenly darker. Adrian continued speaking, his tone low and heavy. At first, I thought she was lying. I thought she ran away with someone else. I hated her for years. He sighed deeply. But then, strange things started happening. My company was attacked. My accounts were hacked. Someone began following me. Someone who knew every detail of my life. His fingers trembled slightly around the ring. Whoever it was. Marina knew them. That's why she left. Lena's chest tightened. How do you know that? Because the same person tried to hurt her too. His eyes turned icy. And that's when I realized her disappearance wasn't a betrayal. It was a warning. Lena didn't know what to say. She looked outside the window to calm her mind, but the world looked different now, sharper, colder. Adrian leaned forward. And that, he said, is why I asked you yesterday if you believe a ring can destroy a man's life. Lena finally spoke. I think, maybe the ring didn't destroy your life. Maybe it was trying to save it. Adrian looked at her for a long time, surprised by her words. You remind me of her, he said quietly. Your eyes. Your voice. Even your way of talking. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She didn't know whether to tell him or stay silent. Because the truth was uncomfortably close. Her own family had a sister named Marina. A sister who disappeared years ago. A sister who never came home. Her hands shook under the table. Could Adrian's Marina be her Marina? Before she could think more, Adrian added. I'm telling you this because last night, for the first time in years, I felt like someone was listening without judging. Lena looked down to hide her emotions. He continued softly. And somehow, I feel you are part of this story. I just don't know how yet. Lena's heart pounded loudly. He didn't know the truth. Not yet. But the war he talked about was slowly pulling her in. And the real storm was only beginning. The cafe felt unusually quiet that evening, as if it too was holding its breath. Lena wiped the counter nervously, stealing glances at Adrian, who sat at his usual corner table, staring at the ring in his hand. The silver gleamed softly under the warm light, almost like it had a life of its own. Ever since he had begun telling his story, Lena felt an unexplainable pull toward him. She had never met anyone so broken yet so strong at the same time. And, secretly, a fear gnawed at her. This man's story sounded very familiar. Adrian sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. I've been searching for answers for years, he said quietly. I've asked everyone who might know something about Marina, but no one could tell me the truth. It's as if she vanished from the world. Lena's fingers trembled slightly. Marina. That name sent a jolt through her chest. She froze for a moment, remembering her childhood. A sister. Her older sister had disappeared suddenly, years ago, without a word. Nobody had ever explained why. The pain had haunted her family ever since. And now, here sat a man, holding a ring, talking about a woman with the exact same name. Her heart beat faster. She felt a strange mix of fear, hope, and curiosity. She knew she had to say something, even if it risked opening old wounds. Adrian, she began hesitantly. I think I might know something about her. Adrian looked up sharply, his eyes full of urgency. What do you mean? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lena took a deep breath. She had to be careful, but she couldn't hide it anymore. My older sister, her name was Marina. She disappeared years ago. Nobody knew where she went, or why she left. Adrian's eyes widened. His fingers tightened around the ring. Marina, your sister's name was Marina. His voice shook slightly. Do you know where she is now? Lena shook her head, her throat tight. No. She left suddenly. Mom and Dad tried to find her, But she never came back. We, we thought she didn't want to be found. Adrian leaned forward, almost trembling. Tell me everything you know. Every detail. Even the smallest thing might help me find her. Lena hesitated. There were many things she had been told in bits and pieces over the years, stories her mother had whispered late at night, warnings about secrets too dangerous for a child to understand. But now, faced with this man's desperate gaze, she decided to share what she knew. My mother told me that Marina, she knew something. Something dangerous. About someone in power. She didn't want anyone to get hurt. So, she left. She left to protect us, I think. To protect me. Adrian's lips trembled. His hands shook slightly, the ring now resting loosely on the table. So, it wasn't betrayal, he said softly, almost to himself. She didn't leave because she didn't love me, she left because she was trying to save me. And, you? Lena nodded. I think so. I never knew the full story until now. But it makes sense, why she gave you the ring, and why she disappeared. Adrian's eyes filled with a mixture of anger, relief, and heartbreak. Years of pain, all this time, I thought she left me because she didn't care. I hated her for it. I blamed her for everything. But now, I see she was protecting us. Protecting everyone she loved. Lena watched him quietly. She didn't know if she should speak, but the tension was unbearable. Finally, she whispered. Maybe, she still loves you. Maybe she's waiting for the right moment to come back. Adrian's eyes softened, and a faint hope flickered inside him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. He reached for the ring, holding it gently in his hands, as if it were the only bridge left connecting him to Marina. She left clues, he said quietly. Clues I missed because I was blinded by anger. And now, with you here, maybe I can finally understand her message. Lena's heart pounded. She didn't realize that her own life was now intertwined with his story. She, too, felt a strange sense of destiny, like her sister's disappearance was a puzzle piece connecting her to Adrian in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. For the first time, Adrian leaned back in his chair, letting out a long, heavy sigh. You have no idea how much I've wanted to find her, he admitted, his voice almost breaking. All these years. I've lived in a shadow, haunted by the thought that I lost her forever. Lena reached out, placing her hand lightly on his. You haven't lost her. Not yet. Maybe it's time to find the truth. Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time. There was a quiet intensity in her gaze, a courage that matched his desperation. You're right, he said softly. I need to find her. And I want you to help me. Lena hesitated for a moment. She wasn't sure if she could, but deep down, she felt she had no choice. This story, this mystery was part of her family, and part of her own heart now. I'll help you, she whispered. Adrian nodded, his expression a mixture of relief and determination. Thank you, he said, softly, almost like a prayer. I don't know what we'll find, but we have to try. The cafe lights flickered as if echoing the quiet storm brewing outside. Neither of them knew what awaited them, whether Marina was safe, or if danger was still closer than they imagined. But one thing was certain, their lives had collided in ways neither could have predicted. And the story of the lost ring, the warning, the love, the betrayal, and the sacrifice was far from over. Adrian looked at Lena once more, holding the ring carefully between his fingers. She was watching over you, wasn't she? He asked quietly. Lena nodded. Yes. I think she was. She always wanted to protect me. Adrian placed the ring back in his pocket. For the first time in years, a spark of hope returned to his eyes. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing clearly: the search for Marina had begun, and this time, he wouldn't stop until he found her. Outside, the ocean waves crashed against the shore, relentless and powerful, just like the storm that was about to sweep through all their lives. The next morning, the cafe was quiet, bathed in soft sunlight that streamed through the windows. Lena wiped the tables, but her mind wasn't on the work. It was on Adrian and the ring, on Marina and the feeling that her life was now tangled in a story she didn't fully understand. She had spent the night thinking about what she would say to Adrian today. She had promised herself she would tell him everything her mother had told her, every secret, every warning about Marina. She needed to uncover the truth. When Adrian arrived, he looked calmer than usual, but his eyes held the same intensity, a mixture of hope and desperation. He greeted Lena quietly. "Morning," he said. "I didn't sleep well. I keep thinking about her, about Marina." Lena nodded. "I know. I want to tell you what I know. It might help." He leaned forward, attentive. Every fiber of his body seemed to be waiting for her words. Lena took a deep breath. Years ago, before she disappeared, Marina discovered something dangerous. Someone wanted to hurt her, and someone wanted to hurt you too. She knew it was connected to your business, to your rivals. That's why she left. Not because she didn't love you, but because she wanted to protect you. Adrian's eyes widened. The words hit him like a sharp wind. He couldn't speak for a moment. Then he whispered, almost afraid to believe it. "She left, to protect me." Lena nodded. "Yes. And she made sure no one knew. She disappeared quietly, so no one could follow her. She risked everything for you, and for me, in a way. She wanted to protect her family." Adrian's hands shook slightly as he touched the ring. The cold silver now felt like a lifeline connecting him to Marina, to the truth he had been searching for all these years. "Why didn't she leave a note?" he asked. "Why only the ring?" Lena hesitated. Maybe she knew that if anyone else read it, it could be dangerous. The ring was her way to warn you without putting herself in danger. Adrian stared at her, the pain and longing in his eyes almost unbearable. "She loved me, and I thought she abandoned me." Lena reached out, placing her hand lightly on his arm. "She didn't abandon you. She sacrificed her love for your safety, and for mine. That's why she left." Adrian closed his eyes and exhaled deeply. He felt the years of anger and betrayal melting away, replaced by a strange mixture of guilt and relief. "Then, she's still out there?" he asked softly. "I think so," Lena replied. "She had to be careful. Whoever threatened her, whoever wanted to hurt her, they're still powerful. She couldn't risk being found." A tense silence filled the cafe. The weight of Marina's disappearance pressed down on them, heavy but somehow liberating. Adrian leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "Then I need to find her. I need to make sure she's safe, and that the people who threatened her, pay for what they did." Lena nodded. "I'll help you. But we need to be careful. The same people who made her disappear could still be watching." Adrian looked at her with admiration and something more, something Lena didn't expect. "You're brave," he said softly. "Braver than anyone I've ever met." Her cheeks flushed slightly. She looked down, feeling a strange flutter in her chest. They spent the next hour discussing every detail Lena could remember about Marina, her habits, her friends, even the tiny clues she had noticed before her sister vanished. Each detail seemed small, but together, they formed a pattern, a trail they could follow. Then Adrian took a deep breath. "I have to show you something," he said. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, worn envelope. He handed it to Lena. "It's a letter," he explained. "Marina wrote it before she disappeared. She couldn't send it, but she wanted me to have it, in case I survived everything." Lena's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a neatly folded letter, written in Marina's handwriting. Adrian, if you are reading this, it means I had to leave. I never wanted to hurt you, but someone dangerous is watching. I left to protect you, and I hope you understand one day. Please forgive me, and promise me you'll stay safe. I will always love you, from afar. Lena looked up at Adrian. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. He was silent for a long moment, holding the letter like it was a treasure. She loved you, Lena whispered. She really did. Adrian nodded slowly. I was wrong to hate her all these years. She didn't leave because of me. She left to protect me. A quiet understanding passed between them. For the first time, they felt connected not just by Marina, but by the shared pain, the shared hope, and the courage it had taken to survive the years apart. Adrian stood up suddenly, determination replacing his grief. We have to find her. And this time, I won't stop until I do. Lena felt her own courage rise. She didn't know exactly what awaited them: danger, betrayal, or heartbreak, but she knew she had to face it. She couldn't let fear control her, not when the truth was finally within reach. Then let's start, she said softly. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of the ocean and the promise of a storm. Neither of them knew what lay ahead, but they knew one thing for certain: the past had finally caught up with them, and the truth about Marina's disappearance was only the beginning of the journey. As Adrian walked out of the cafe, the ring in his pocket seemed to glow faintly, as if guiding them toward the woman who had changed both of their lives forever. And somewhere, in the shadows, someone was watching. Waiting. Patient. The war that had begun years ago was far from over, and the unexpected battle for love, truth, and safety was about to reach its peak. The sun had just begun to set over the seaside town, painting the sky with fiery shades of orange and pink. Lena stood outside the cafe, waiting for Adrian. They had agreed to meet to plan the next step: finding Marina. The air was heavy with anticipation, each breath filled with the unknown. Adrian arrived, carrying the same black jacket, his eyes tired but determined. The weight of the past weeks had pressed on him, yet there was a spark of hope that Lena hadn't seen before. Are you ready? He asked, his voice steady. Lena nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. Together, they left the cafe, stepping into a world that suddenly felt both dangerous and alive. The streets were quiet, but the shadows seemed to move with hidden eyes, as if someone was watching their every step. Do you really think she's out there? Lena asked softly. Adrian's fingers brushed against the pocket where the ring rested. I have to believe she is. Marina wouldn't leave without a reason. And now, we know the truth. She left to protect us. They walked in silence for a while, each lost in thought, until Adrian stopped suddenly in front of a small abandoned warehouse by the docks. This place, he said quietly, was one of the locations my rivals used to threaten her. I didn't know it until recently. But she left clues, and I think this might be the next step. Lena felt a chill run down her spine. The place looked empty, but the air was tense, thick with secrets. Adrian opened the door slowly, and they stepped inside. Dust and shadows filled the room. On a small table, they saw an envelope, the same kind of envelope Marina had left for Adrian years ago. It was addressed to both of them. Lena's hands trembled as she picked it up. This is, from her, she whispered. Adrian nodded. It must be. Inside was a letter, written in Marina's familiar handwriting. Adrian, Lena, if you are reading this, it means I am finally ready to come back. The danger is over, and I have been watching, waiting for the right moment. Lena, you have been my strength without even knowing it. Adrian. I never stopped loving you. Trust this letter, and follow the path I have left for you. You will find me soon. Lena looked up at Adrian. His eyes were full of emotion, a mixture of relief and disbelief. She's alive, he whispered, almost in awe. Yes, Lena said softly. And she wants us to find her. They followed the directions written in the letter, moving carefully through the streets, past abandoned alleys and quiet docks. The path seemed dangerous, but Lena felt a strange confidence. Marina's presence seemed to guide them. Finally, they reached a small house on the outskirts of town. It was modest, surrounded by trees, almost hidden from view. Adrian's heart pounded. Could this really be it? Could this be Marina? He stepped forward and knocked gently on the door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the door opened slowly, revealing Marina herself. Time seemed to stop. She was older, more mature, but her eyes were the same warm, strong, and filled with love. Adrian's breath caught. Marina, he whispered, almost afraid to speak. Marina stepped forward, a smile breaking across her face. Adrian, she said softly. You found me. He closed the distance between them in a few steps, holding her hands in his. The ring in his pocket felt heavier now, filled with meaning. I thought I lost you forever, he said, his voice breaking. You were never lost, Marina replied, tears glistening in her eyes. I had to protect you, and Lena. I couldn't risk the danger reaching you. Lena stepped forward, feeling a mix of happiness and relief. Marina hugged her gently. I watched over you, little sister, she whispered. I never wanted you to be hurt. The reunion was emotional, filled with tears, laughter, and quiet relief. Adrian finally understood the depth of Marina's sacrifice, and Lena understood the courage her sister had shown all those years. As they sat together, Marina explained everything: the threats, the people who had tried to harm them, and the reasons she had stayed away. She had left clues to ensure they could find her safely once the danger was gone. Adrian looked at Lena and then at Marina. We survived this, together, he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Yes, Marina replied. And now, we can finally be free. For the first time in years, Adrian felt peace. The past, the pain, the misunderstandings, the fear was behind them. And in front of them was a future filled with hope, love, and trust. Lena smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. She had been part of this journey from the very beginning, and she realized something important. Life was unpredictable, filled with storms and wars, but love and courage always guided the way. Adrian turned to Lena. I don't know what the future holds, he said softly. But I know this, I'm grateful you were here with me, Lena. You helped me find the truth, and the love I thought I had lost forever. Lena blushed slightly, her heart fluttering. And I'm glad I was part of it, she replied. As the sun set fully, casting golden light across the small town, the three of them stood together outside the house. The ocean waves crashed softly in the distance, like a gentle promise of new beginnings. Marina looked at Adrian and Lena. The unexpected war is over, she said. But the journey, the real journey, is just beginning. Adrian smiled, holding Marina's hand tightly. He glanced at Lena, giving her a small nod. Together, they had faced the shadows, uncovered secrets, and survived a storm of love, loss, and courage. And in that moment, one truth was clear: sometimes, a ring is more than just a piece of jewelry. It's a key to the past, a warning for the present, and a promise for the future. The story ended not with despair, but with hope. Not with loss, but with love. And the audience could feel it: the thrill, the suspense, the emotion, and know that even in the darkest moments, truth and love always find a way. The last line, whispered over the waves by Adrian, summed it all up. Some rings break hearts, but some rings lead people back to each other. And with that, the screen could fade to black, leaving the audience captivated, inspired, and wanting more.